think both. Good morning, and good morning, America. This is Vinney Chopra, my co-host, Beau Eckstein from Las Vegas area, and a very special guest today. We are so excited to have Sara Jung with us. We're going to talk about in a second. She's a great person right here from Sacramento, Roseville, right, Sara?
Roseville, California, Placer County.
Yeah, Placer County, Roseville, California, and I'm in the Bay Area in Danville, California. Some of you know we come live to you 9:30 a.m. every week. So please join us. Put a notification on, and we are going through StreamYard. As you all know, we are in LinkedIn right now, YouTube. We are in 4 places or 5 places in Facebook groups, and all the places like that. So please give us some great questions and listen to great answers. Let me kind of introduce. Beau, how are you doing, brother?
Doing well. Can't complain.
Hey, I can't tell you. I'm so excited. I've been getting up at 4:45. Yesterday, I got up, had an 18-hour day. 18-hour, you say, Vinney, what in the heck are you doing?
How can you have an 18-hour day?
I know.
What have you been doing?
It's amazing when you have so many things on your plate. And there were quite a few. I said, I'm going to set a goal to just get them all done, right? Then I just went to bed late and so forth and all that. But it's okay. It's always good. I did a little posting also, had Kanchan cook that beautiful turkey burger and, and the wine. That was the little time I relaxed. And then I went back into presentations again and things like that. Anyway, but the key thing is Sara is here with us. Sara Jung, I would like to introduce, has been a leader in real estate finance for over 17 years and is an active investor in residential and multifamily properties. She's the founding member of Legacy Bloom. That's right, Legacy Bloom Investments. In her financing career, she has funded over $1 billion. Listen to this, guys, $1 billion. She's going to throw some gold nuggets today here in front of all of us here. In real estate transactions, her passion is helping others create passive income that provides financial freedom. Let's welcome Sara to the show. I know she started a great podcast. We're going to share about that. She's into assisted senior living. She's into multifamily big times. Welcome, Sara. How are you?
Thank you, Vinney. Thanks both for having me. It's so much fun to hang out with you guys.
For sure. Kind of tell us a little bit more, maybe to the audience, a little bit about, your humble beginnings and maybe, how you got into mortgages and, and over $1 billion. That's amazing. And then into, multifamily.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. And again, thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's always fun to do this with you. Can you hear me okay? Just a really quick sound check. Okay, thanks. So I got started in mortgage, actually 19 years ago now. Time's flying. And I started out in the Bay Area. I started out in sales. I moved here from Wisconsin, from the Midwest. And somebody had recruited me into the mortgage banking industry because they thought I'd be good at it. And I said, okay, I didn't really know what a mortgage was at that time. But anyway, so I got into the mortgage business, and I was very lucky to start with a great manager who mentored me. I, kind of for the first several years, as I was kind of getting my feet wet, I discovered that I was really good with working with buyers and working with developers and real estate agents sourcing business in new construction, doing new construction loans. And then I evolved from there doing more specialty financing, affordable housing programs, things like that. So then I ended up developing really great relationships with a number of developers in the Bay Area. So we ended up building out a team to finance all of their buyers, to be their in-house lender for all of their subdivisions. And I did that for a number of years. And then my family and I moved here to the Sacramento area in 2010. And I just continued, financing for buyers and subdivisions, and just continuing to build the portfolio of business with my developers. And as my developers grew, so did I. And so again, just continued to build out a team. And it was a lot of work. I ended up over the years, we built out probably, again, when we talk about that $1 billion in funding, that was $1 billion in real estate transactions between mostly purchase. I was a 90% purchase lender. Wow. And so didn't do a lot of refis. I started out doing refis when I first began, but eventually I became primarily a purchase lender. And so out here in 2018 was when I hit the peak of my career, and I got into the top 1% of mortgage banking in the US. And so it was a phenomenal success. I was highly blessed with an awesome team. And you never have that kind of success with just yourself, right? So you always have a team, right, Vinney? You know that.
Totally, I know it totally.
Absolutely. So I got into with the mortgage banking side and all of that. We started investing. We'd invested over on and off through the years, and investing into residential real estate. And I had a lot of clients that also did a lot of real estate investing. And over the years, I saw my clients have these phenomenal returns and just really have these huge benefits from real estate investing, because I would do their loans back, when they would start, and then several years later, they would come back, we'd refinance, they would sell, they'd buy more property, they would do 1031 exchanges. And so I was really lucky to actually have some really great clients that I was able to work with over the years, that was able to actually build up a great portfolio. And even through the crash, like even through 2007, 8, I had some clients that, took some pretty big hits, but then even after that, they were able to recover, and real estate was still the number one investment for them, where they still came out much better than everybody else. So, and they made some great investment decisions too. So I was able to work with some pretty savvy real estate investors.
Awesome.
That I was able to learn from as well. And so that's kind of how things evolved. And then I got into multifamily a few years ago. Then I met you last year. So, and so then it started to get into more multifamily and now senior living.
Awesome. No, that's fabulous. Would you say, as the COVID and everything happening this year, what has been your perspective, and how would you relate? Has your business, your enthusiasm been there, or share some?
Yeah, like all of us. COVID has just, I don't know about you, but COVID's been difficult, not only personally, but also just business wise. We had a deal that fell through that we ended up canceling escrow on early this year out in Oklahoma City because of COVID. We were almost to the finish line, ready to go. And then COVID happened. And then we made a decision to back out of that deal because it was too risky at that point. So we definitely got a little bit behind this year as far as like what we wanted to achieve as far as our goals. Sure. Our investors definitely took a back seat for a while, and which was very understandable. But investors are coming back out, and they're ready to invest, and they're more enthusiastic, and they're more ready now to go into deals. So that's been really encouraging and very positive. But it definitely has had an impact overall, though, for sure.
No, I agree.
And even and I have we had some rental properties, and actually I was, Vinney, just last week, I was, knock on wood, I was really lucky. All my renters were paying on time and everything. And then last week I got the news that one of my renters is not going to be paying. And so, cause she lost her job and she's been looking for work because of COVID. And it's been unfortunate. And so I haven't charged her any late fees or anything. But, from a landlord standpoint, it's a little challenging because you want to help your tenant, but at the same time, my hands are somewhat tied because I can't really do anything to help her, and we're not able to evict, because of the laws now. So it's been really challenged on both sides, both for the tenant and for the landlord. So I'll keep my fingers crossed with her, but hopefully she'll find something soon and it'll work out for her.
For sure, for sure. No, it has really affected a lot of parts of course, single family and multifamily also. I know our properties in Florida in the tech space have done really well. We've been collecting 96% of the money, even during COVID. But my assets in Texas have, gotten a little bit, vacancy and then moratorium on the evictions.
Right, on the evictions.
Yeah, like that. But at the same token, hey, when the good deal comes, we don't stop. So, love to, I think some people might know, we just purchased 34,750,000 in Austin. And
congratulations.
108 units, multifamily mission-driven units, which is very good. Fannie and Freddie were fighting over to give the, lending and all that. We got 2.68%, by the way. 2.68%. My God.
Isn't that crazy cheap money?
It's crazy. It tells me that I should buy more and more because this is the cheapest money I've ever bought.
It's the cheapest money that we're probably going to have for our lifetime, at least. But you know what, Vinney? I mean, you kind of going back to COVID. I mean, I think, even with COVID, even, kind of the impacts that it's had, on our assets and, like even with my rental property and just even with the property managers that I work with, I mean, there's definitely been some impacts and there's definitely been some hits. And what's really, what I felt really bad about was one of the property managers that I know, it's not only with their tenants, it's also in the property management space with their staff, and where some of the staff has gotten COVID and they're really, because with their vendors doing inspections and being able to access properties and potentially exposing themselves that way. So, and that's been an issue too, where they've had to protect themselves and just be very, mindful of, how they're operating.
Totally. And even the COVID reserve, Sara, you and Beau are both in mortgage. I mean, my two arms right there, everything. We had to put, I think, $783,000 in the reserve. With the Freddie, I think we went with Freddie this time, and for the Austin deal. So that money will be given to us. Of course, it's our money, but they wanted it as a safe. So we
well, and Beau, too. I mean, so the rules have changed now with both Fannie and Freddie as far as if you're an investor, you're going to be buying investment properties, whether it's multifamily or residential. Lenders now have stricter requirements. In terms of how they're qualifying an investor buying property. They do require more reserves than they had before, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. They are looking at additional, if you're self-employed, and Beau, you can chime in on this, but if you're self-employed and you're qualifying for a mortgage now, it's tougher. The lenders are tough on you because they're looking at literally your last income deposits for the last 30 to 60 days. Right. To see if your income is, income is supported by being consistent. And because with COVID, the expectation is that your income may have dropped off. And so now what they're looking at, instead of taking a 2-year average of what they would normally do on your tax returns, they're looking at your actual income deposits as of the last 30, 60, 90 days. And if those deposits are not consistent, and if it's declining, then there's actually a chance that you may not get approved.
Surely.
And that also falls in with commissioned employees. Like if you're a salesperson, if you're a real estate agent, if you're on commission, anything like that, they're definitely looking at that a lot more closely than they have. Beau, I don't know if you had experience with this, but I've definitely run into this. And with my underwriters, it's been a constant battle, it seems like, because different industries have different seasons of income. Sure. And so, right. And so you can't just necessarily say, well, just because you haven't been receiving income deposits for the last, 60 days that we can't approve you, when you might make all of your income, maybe at the end of the year, or maybe in your third or fourth quarter of the year, or maybe the beginning of the year, So things like that have definitely impacted how self-employed people and people that are on commission have been able to get loans. And I just want to throw that out there because it has become it is an issue where we've been working around it, but it's more just educating people that this is something just to be aware of if you are going to be out getting, trying to get a loan. And if you're an investor trying to get a loan, it's even more scrutiny. So
Yeah.
you have to be aware of it.
Beau, what would you add to that, bud? Yeah.
I would just say it's extremely challenging for residential mortgages right now versus like Vinney going out and get an agency loan on a multifamily property, right? Because multifamily is probably like the most wanted product to lend on right now. So there's just a difference. So I got feedback in my ear.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about that a little bit, the feedback. Yeah. No, let me kind of take you then, Sara. I know you really are doing well in multifamily. How about senior living? How did you get diverted into that? Kind of tell us.
Well, it was you, Vinney.
I've been thinking
you were my inspiration.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No. You're always one of my top inspirations, Vinney, because you really are. With the senior living, it's one of those spaces that it kind of ebbs and flows, right? So when I think there was kind of a peak where there was a lot of new construction, right? So after the crash, the real estate crash, there seemed to have been in the last 10 years a lot of new construction for senior developments. But what I found was that in the last probably like 5 years, a lot of that that inventory has been taken now, so that it's been filled. So now we're kind of coming to another place of kind of in that curve of where we're starting to get more demand, because now those developments have been full, the occupancies are high, and people haven't stopped aging, and so we're getting to another kind of a season. I believe the next 10 years we're going to go through another cycle where we're going to have a very high demand for senior living, and especially with the memory care space. With the average age of dementia onset at 85 years old, we're kind of getting to, again, that age group where we're going to have another wave. That's in my opinion, based on the research that I've done. I think for the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a big wave of that. And so I think, starting now, again, looking at new senior developments from the ground up, and if we can get into that space in the next few years to exit out in the next 5 to 10 years, that's what I foresee is where the opportunity is.
Sure. I totally concur with you. You're right. I think, with the baby boomer, the silver tsunami we call, right? 10,000 baby boomers retire. I'm turning 65 every day. And of course, 75 plus, 85 plus, is increasing also exponentially. So you're right. The big need.
Yeah. In the other space that I thought was really interesting was in secondary and tertiary markets for senior living. I look at where I live here in the Sacramento area, and we have all of these senior developments popping up in the suburbs. And with all of the aging that's been taking place, I think there's a really huge opportunity to look at senior living facilities or homes to cater to some of these outer kind of suburb areas, like these bedroom communities, where people are aging and they don't necessarily want to move very far away, right? And so it's not just about being in the metropolitan areas. It's really about being kind of in these secondary markets. I think there's some big opportunities.
You're so right about it. Sara, I think Beau also knows that, we built the one in Cape Coral, Florida, and then 26 miles away in Punta Gorda, we are building. And then now we bought the land, 12 acres of land in Sebastian, Florida. So we are building there, and then 21 miles away again, we are building in Palm Bay. So, right, tertiary markets, rather than going into Orlando or Tampa or Miami, we are finding in the smaller towns that are liking to retire there more. You're right. Yeah, exactly. Also, I want to take you to, I know you started your podcast. Hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us more. What really got you excited, motivated, and and who do you bring on, and kind of share with us?
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thanks for having me so I can promote my podcast.
Definitely. Yes, yes, yes.
You know, so when I thought about doing a podcast, I was trying to figure out, why I wanted to do a podcast and what I wanted to promote and in what kind of message I wanted to send out there and, kind of what my motivation was. Thank you, Vinney.
Right there.
So, so my podcast is called 50 Shades of Wealth,
Yeah.
Confessions of a Real Estate Investor.
Mhm.
And, the funny story is that this title actually came from one of my business partners. And so I had to give her credit because we went through a whole list of what should we call the podcast, and we had all these names for it. And then Rick Brown, who is actually my podcast editor, and he's awesome, by the way. We'd went through all these names, and then she was like, well, what about 50 Shades of Wealth? And I said, oh my gosh, that's perfect. because it was catchy enough to get someone's attention. And
Yes.
especially for women, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's the movie 50 Shades of Grey, but I
Yes.
thought, so I thought 50
Very
Shades of,
catchy. I love
it
it.
was
I love it.
not too provocative, right? But catchy enough.
Yes.
And so the 50 Shades of Wealth, and I think what resonated that for me was, because wealth really is not about money, right? Wealth is about a lot of other things. And so, money is just one part of it.
Yeah.
But wealth is about, your time and your health and your, social circle and your kind of social well-being and your mental health. And there's all these other facets of kind of you as a person that you can build wealth around, not just financially. I mean, obviously financial wealth is great, but to get to financial wealth, you also need to have wealth in all these other areas. And if you don't have wealth in all these other areas, then I believe that you're not going to be able to obtain financial wealth as easily as possibly. And so thank you. Somebody said catchy name. Thank you, VJ.
Yeah, we did like that.
I like that.
You,
and so then the confessions came from, because I work with a lot of investors, and being in the mortgage and finance real estate business for so long, you just deal with a lot of people, and you run across a lot of different people with lots of different stories. And I just thought it'd be kind of cool to just share people's stories about their investment journeys and kind of what they've been through. And also just provide an opportunity for people to be a little bit vulnerable about what they've been through. Because it's not an easy path necessarily.
No.
Always. It's a hard path, right? It's a hard path.
Very hard. Very hard.
And so it's not always like this great linear path up to success. You have a lot of ups and downs, and successes and failures along the way. And so for me, I thought it was just important to really just share with people that, it's not about, just sharing it's not about being pessimistic or negative or anything. It's more about, well, what was the experience and what did they learn from it? And how can that lesson resonate maybe with somebody else?
Totally.
And because I know that when I've gone through my journey and I've gone through my ups and downs, especially in real estate or investing into different deals, or, working with clients or working with investors, there's so much more to the story than just, buying a property, fixing it up and then selling it. There was all of the other things that were going on behind the scenes that you have to deal with, the challenges, the frustrations, sometimes the failures, just all these things that can happen that I think for newer investors, that people who are interested in investing and they have an interest in real estate, that they can learn from somebody else and say, oh, well, I never thought of that, or that's an idea that I could take, or maybe there's something that I can be inspired by that story. And so that was kind of my motivation, and kind of what I wanted to share, that the journey of real estate investing is there is multifaceted. There's a lot of other things that go around it, and really it's about your mindset and how how you think, how you operate, kind of like how you deal with your possibly limiting self-beliefs, and how all of those things go together. If you can, improve on those other areas of your life and self-improve as a person, then it's going to give you, I think, a better opportunity to have more success.
Totally.
And part of that was, your social circle, surrounding yourself with mentors and people that can encourage you and inspire and, give you support. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the motivation was behind it.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I would love the audience, watching us right now or later on who'll be viewing hundreds of people. Please do look up in iTunes, Confessions of Real Estate Investor, right? I will put that up again. 50 Shades of Wealth, Confessions of Real Estate Investor by Sara Jung. Please do that. And no, it's such a pleasure. Your inspiration. Let's talk about Beau. What would you like to ask Sara, bud? Yeah.
Well, she has a great story, and it's always a pleasure to have her here. So you have a tenant. Sorry, guys, I'm getting terrible feedback.
Oh, do you? Yeah. Oh, what happened?
That's better.
You're fine. Yeah.
I'm getting like double sound in here. So basically, Sara, so you have a tenant. I think there's a common story right now. You have people that aren't paying rent, and we're the property owners, right? Or the property owner. And so it's like, we're the bad guys that own real estate, right? Versus like these people that can't pay their rent. But what they don't realize is that a lot of us out there are normal people that need their rent to pay the bills, right? Like they don't put that together, that this is our business, right? We're not some big company, right? We could be a mom and pop type operation. And I think there's always two sides, because I feel for people, right? I feel if they can't pay their bills, I feel for them. But at the same time, listen, if I had all my rentals not pay their bills, that's going to put me in a little bit of a hardship. So there's always two sides to the story. And I do think that there's people out there that kind of take advantage of the system when they think everybody else, they don't have to pay rent, even though they can pay rent. And that's kind of frustrating. Pay your bills, you owe the rent. And I'm in the process of one eviction. So, we'll see. She actually, it was way before, it was just when COVID started, she didn't pay. So I think she actually ended up moving out, and I was able to fill it with a new tenant. So it's just frustrating sometimes, because they don't realize we're people. We're not some big business that can take unlimited losses, right?
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because, being in the mortgage business too, with the forbearances, I have many clients contact me, not as much lately, but, for the last kind of over the summer, I had a number of clients, contact me for forbearance options.
Mhm.
And so, and I kind of look at, as a landlord, it is frustrating, because my hands are tied. There's literally nothing I could do in my situation. I literally had to sit there and just not get paid rent, and I can evict. And again, I was okay, like not charging late fees and all of that. But, but the reality is that, I still have a mortgage to pay on that, and I still have an obligation to the bank to pay the mortgage.
Sure.
And so, so from the tenant's perspective, they're looking for help, and for the landlord to work with them, right. And that's great. And I'm willing to do that. And, but then on the flip side of that, like you said, it's like, well, but we still have an obligation for the note that we signed to pay the loan. And so even if, let's say that I go out and get a mortgage, and I lost my job, like just in a regular situation, like outside, like regardless of COVID, but just in a regular situation, I lost my job. Well, if I can't pay the mortgage, then the consequences is that the bank takes the property.
Mhm.
And so there's consequences for that. And so if you don't want to lose your home, then you have to find ways to pay the mortgage, or you sell, or the bank takes it back. And so it is, I think from a landlord's position, I think it is frustrating and it's challenging, because you have empathy for and compassion for the people that are in those situations. But then you still have the reality of the other side, where you still, you have obligations And, the tenant has an obligation, right?
Sure.
Just like we have an obligation, just the landlord has an obligation. So I think it's a tough situation to be in for both sides. And, and I feel that, whatever obligation you sign up for, you really need to try to carry through. And again, if things come up and you're in you're in a situation where you can't do it, then you have to experience the consequences. Now, the mortgage industry, with the forbearance, it has been, it has provided some relief. But I can tell you though that I know that in the industry that people have taken advantage of the forbearance and just have not paid and taken the forbearance option just because, where they've been able to take that. But then what they don't realize is that forbearance sounds great. Yeah, it gives you relief, but you have to remember that money is still owed to the bank. It's not disappearing.
Oh my gosh, Sarah, you said it so rightly. And I've gone through this last week, by the way. I'm selling my property, 191 units in Atlanta, Georgia, and they would not let me. They say we are in forbearance for next 8 months because they're going to charge me whatever I lost, for 3 months. 1/12 of that I have to pay, right, for each and every month. And they will not even entertain the thought for a supplement loan for my buyer unless I pay 147,000. So I gave loan to the LLC, my own personal money, paid them. Now they say you're out of forbearance. So it's never forgiven, and they tie you for the whole year.
They tie you up, and here's the thing with the forbearance options, so that you have options so that you can, typically it'll be tacked on to the end of the loan, right? It'll be deferred essentially. Yep. It's a deferred loan is how I look at it. Yeah. It's tacked onto your loan. But if you want to go out and refinance, or if you want to go out and buy a property and get a new loan, you have to catch up and reconcile the money that's been owed, and that loan needs to be reinstated. And so you do have to go out and pay everything back. I explained this to a client that, with the refinance, you can't just, refinance while you're in forbearance. And the unfortunate part is if you're not able to catch up on what's owed, then unfortunately you're not gonna be able to refinance. And with the rate so low right now, it is such a huge benefit to refinance. I mean, come on, money in the twos. And so I would encourage everybody out there, if you're looking to refinance and you're considering forbearance, I would do the refinance. If you're in a position to refinance, do the refinance. And also, just a side note, it's taking lenders, 2 to 3 months to get your loans through. So make sure to give yourself time. But just kind of have a plan and think very carefully before you take a forbearance option, because it's something that just it's not forgiven. It doesn't go away, and it can affect you later when you're trying to get financing for whatever reason, right? So
I would like to ask the audience, I thought in my circle, somebody said that the PPE loan, which was given for payment, is it called payroll protection plan, that it will be forgiven. Has anybody heard about that? Have both of you heard yet lately? Just a couple of days back, somebody sent me a message that Chase Bank has already opened up that you can fill out application for forgiveness now on the PPP loan. Sorry, the audience, we have 12, 15 people watching us also. Please put it in the chat if you know anything about it, about forgiveness. That's what I want to talk about.
I saw or read something. There's a checklist, like if you meet certain things that, I believe that's the case, but I'm not an expert because I didn't get any PPEs or so I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
If anybody has information on that, please share, because that would
please share with us. Please share.
Yeah.
I know there was
there was a question. We had somebody.
Yes.
Somebody was asking about how my finance experience helps investors. Okay, so so how's my mortgage? Okay, helps as an investor. Well, I'm a big believer in leveraging things, and using financing loan as using basically I see it as like using a tool, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a mortgage, it's like a tool. You can leverage it to invest and buy property and buy more property. So instead of just instead of buying one property and putting a big down payment, if you can leverage, putting enough down payment that's required using the bank loan, and then even other people's money that Vinny and I, we use, we also as investors, then I'm just a believer in using that kind of leverage. I think my experience is, having a finance, doing so much financing over the years. It's just, I've seen both sides, right? So I've seen both the financing and the real estate side. And so being in the space, you can't help. I mean, you're just in the real estate, and you're just in the mortgage side. And so you see, and Beau, maybe you can speak to this, but you really see all of, when you're a real estate agent, you see the property side, right? But as a mortgage person, you not only do you see the property side, because you also have to see the inspections, the reports, the appraisal. You're looking at that property. Is this a lendable property? And if something happens, is the bank going to want to take it back? And how marketable is that property going to be? But then on the financing side, you see how people can leverage, and if they're ready and eligible to actually, be in a position to buy and manage real estate. And so I think as a person in finance, then there's also guidance and maybe some information or tips that we can provide to an investor as far as how the numbers would actually work. And so, you guys know that, when we look at deals, we analyze, numbers all the time. And so we're looking to see, does this deal make sense from a investor perspective? What are the returns going to look like? What are the expenses? And as when you're doing mortgages in an investor deal, you're looking at the same thing, right? We're looking at, can this property pay for itself? What is the occupancy, going to be on this? And so there's all of those things that, that I think when you have that background that you can bring to a client, and really give them a good pair of eyes on the deal. Whether, especially residential, I've done lots and lots of residential deals, now multifamily, but it's all based on numbers, and, based on what the income is and what the expenses are. It's just income, expenses, and then other things like occupancy and kind of some of those like unknowns, right? And that's kind of how I see it. I think investing it's a numbers game.
So true. So true. There's one more question right there from Vijay again. Thank you, Vijay, for watching us. And we appreciate, I would love that. A lot of you are watching. Please just drop in, where you're from, and maybe ask us some great questions. We are here to, again, we come live to you at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, because we are all in the Pacific zone, Beau and I, and we love to have you. Please share this episode with your friends. You could look at it. It's actually going live right now in LinkedIn, in YouTube, in Facebook groups, in Facebook, all the different places. So please share this with the people who could benefit. Also, Vijay is asking Beau, Sara, how this is impacting the valuation and the cap rates, the COVID.
Sure. I think multifamily is actually holding up pretty strong. Where I see the opportunities is for smaller properties, mom and pop run multifamily properties. I'm getting a lot of loan requests for those type of deals right now, and it's actually interesting because there's a lot of step up buyers, like buying the small house to the big house. So I'm seeing a lot of people that own a nice portfolio of like single family and duplexes and fourplexes. Now they're saying, okay, let's buy these mom and pop properties, because the big guys don't want to buy these small deals, right? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on right now. But with the mom and pop properties, I think that's where the stress is right now, because they're dealing with the kind of avatar tenant that's not paying rent right now, out of the masses, right? Like the kind of A class and B class apartments, the rent collections are very strong. So the stress is with lower entry level type, 5 to 20 unit buildings, I think, is where that real opportunity is, because they're not managed oftentimes professionally. So you're getting people that want to sell, and that's where I think the most, on a 10 unit building, or let's say if 3 go vacant, right? What's your occupancy? It's hitting those buildings a lot harder than it's hitting a 191 unit building. So I think larger multifamily, B and A class, are holding up fairly well. And I think that the small mom and pop type multifamilies are the ones that where the opportunity is for investors. And what I like about that too is you're not fighting against the larger buyers that are buying $30 million properties. Like Vinney in his career now does not want to go buy a 10 unit property, right? Where I want to buy that. Sarah wants to buy that, right? So there's difference, in there, and also too, I don't have to do a syndication to buy a 10 unit property, right? I could do just a joint venture, which I could say, Sarah, you want to be my partner on this. She's got some money and saved up, and we close on it with. So I think that's where the values might be getting hurt a little bit more, just because you lose 3 on a 10 unit. That's a big chunk of occupancy versus losing a few on a 191 unit building. So I think based from a lender's perspective, where like a lot of the bridge loans, and I've done a lot of bridge lending, where they want to be, they want to fund multifamily. Multifamily is the easiest product to lend on, really. I mean, as far as commercial, because people, obviously, all these funding sources think it's the kind of tried and true measure to put up. It's a cash flowing asset. People need a roof over their head. So I think I'm not really worried about that market. I'm worried about retail. I'm worried about office, because that's where the change is happening with the retailer tsunami, right? All these businesses going under, and they might not even be going under. They're just like refocusing. They're starting an e-com business as opposed to a local distribution. So that brings me to the next point, which is my new interest is adaptive reuse, right? Adaptive reuse in the inner cities and so forth. You're seeing these old buildings that were built in 1900 and they've been empty for 50 years. Well, somebody's got to go in and convert these to living space, because quite frankly, there's not enough housing, right? So that's where I see a lot of focus going. And I think that that's a huge opportunity for the right developers. And I'm interested from the funding perspective, because now I want to fund all those projects, because it's a little bit of an art, and there's certain lenders that like to do those. So you're seeing office and commercial being converted to multifamily right now. And I think you'll see in some markets, hotels and motels converted to multifamily. So
Sure.
maybe that's an opportunity too.
For sure. I definitely thank you. Thank you, Beau. I want to really, thank all our participants, all our watchers. Also, Jonah Lemons from LA. Welcome. Vish Mini from Belton, Texas. Welcome. Vish also had a great comment. Raquel from Hawaii. Welcome.
Aloha.
It's so nice that, a lot of people, Vijay Virachandran, I don't know, Vijay's from Boston area, I think, maybe. And then, of course, we got Dupak, we got Virachandran, and John Drusen, of course, Knoxville, Tennessee, Jeff Holst, right from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so forth. I know somebody said I didn't really look at my LinkedIn. Actually, my team looks at it. I'm just busy with so much stuff. So we'll reply back to you, Bruno. Sorry about that. Mike Fritz, again, Arizona. I mean, he's buying deals over there in Cincinnati. So thanks to everybody. But let's see here. We are right about 43 minutes into it right now. What else can you add to it, Sarah? Which, what's on your mind? What can you add to the investors who want to, invest into real estate, of course, start small or medium or large. Yeah. Huh?
Well, there's a lot of things that I could say to that, but I think what I would leave for everybody is, and actually, Beau, I just wanted to add to your comment too, that you're totally right about these smaller deals, that there's opportunities in these smaller apartment deals. We're actually closing on one here in the next couple days.
Wow.
Right outside of Waco, Texas. And that's a small deal. That is exactly what you described. Was a 36. We have a 36 unit that we're closing on. That was just a mom and pop kind of deal. But I would just say, hey, you know what? Just go for it. If you're not sure where to start, just contact us and we'll help you. just
Yes.
just get with a mentor. Just get somebody that can help you kind of get started. So if you're not sure, kind of, just reach out and ask.
Yeah. No, I agree with you totally, Sara. You can help, Beau can help, I can help, my team can help. And there are a lot of great mentors out there who are crushing it, who are doing it. I think it's always great, to get somebody who's done it. So who can kind of take you through, handhold, I think, only for one deal. You only need one, because after that you'll be getting proficient. And that's what happened in my life 14 years back. Somebody sat down with me and taught me some principles, and that's what it's all about,
Absolutely.
helping each other. And so many people are joining. I'm so thankful. Mohan, welcome right here from the San Francisco Bay Area. Nice to meet you. Eric, right there from East Africa.
Oh, we have East Africa. Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. Thomas is right there from, oh, wow. What did I do? Of course, Jonah is there. Oh, Thomas right there.
Oh, you're welcome. I've got a comment. Thanks for representing the women. So you're welcome. Thank you.
Yes. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful, to have great people. Remember, please put a notification on, if you would, in the LinkedIn, if there is one, or, Facebook, so that, or even in the, what I like is the iPhone. What I want to do every day. For example, I would love to share. I'm a creature of habit, right? Miracle Morning. Vinney does Miracle Morning every morning, 6 o'clock when I get up, or 7 o'clock. It says Miracle Morning, gratitude, meditate, and exercise daily. Guess what? I put a repeat every day.
Vinney, you're so good.
Yeah. And just do the same thing for 9:30 a.m. Vinney and Beau Show as a repeat every Friday. And you'll be there with us. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Sara. It's such a pleasure. How can people reach you, Sara? Please.
They can reach me by visiting my website at www.legacybloom.com.
Okay.
Thanks, Vinney. Thanks, you guys, for having me. It's always fun.
Oh, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll go.
Thank you.
Beau, buddy. Thank you so much.
Bye.
We'll do the
Take care.
ending. Where is, I think there is John is there. John, please come in the front, buddy. I know, John. I want to really thank John.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
VP of the Academy. He just keeps me straight. And thank you for everything you do, John. I appreciate you, buddy.
Blessed to be around you all.
New intro and outro next week. That's right. Thanks to our brother, Beau. We have designed a new one, and we are working with the VAs now in Philippines, in India. If anybody needs some really great branding of their business to take it to the next level, just reach out to us and we can take your business to the next level. So thank you so much. We got John Gill also. Oh my gosh, look at that. Lots of great people here. In Chicago, we are all over, buddy. I'm really, really proud. Everybody, thank you. God bless you.